Ever feel like you're just thrown in the deep end, you know? When you start something new, a new job or a new city, even a new hobby group.
Yeah, totally.
Today, we're going to be diving deep into adapting to new environments.
Okay.
Um, and we've got some really interesting source material to kind of unpack here.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're going to be analyzing a conversation between Sarah, who's just starting a new job, and Mark, who is a seasoned employee at this company.
Interesting.
And it's amazing how much we can learn just from listening to their back and forth.
Yeah, it's a perfect case study. You see those common anxieties play out in real time.
Mm-hmm.
And it really highlights that, adapting to unfamiliar territory isn't about just flipping a switch, it's a process.
Right.
And I'm interested to see what resonates with you from their conversation.
One thing that just jumped out at me was Sarah's just feeling of being completely overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
It's like drinking from a fire hose,
Mm.
right? New information, new faces, new everything.
I can imagine.
And she even mentions feeling hesitant to ask too many questions.
Oh.
Like she's worried about bothering people.
That's so relatable, though, It's almost like we're conditioned to think appearing clueless is a bad thing.
Right.
But Mark makes a really good point.
Okay.
He says asking questions early on demonstrates initiative and a desire to learn the ropes.
Yeah, it's funny how a simple shift in perspective can change everything.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of viewing questions as a burden,
Yeah.
It's about showing you're engaged and eager to contribute.
For sure.
I'm curious, though.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on how to ask questions effectively
Mm-hmm.
in a new environment? Is there a strategy to it?
That's a great question. It's
Mhm.
not just about asking any question that pops into your head.
That's okay.
It's about being strategic,
Mhm.
What do you truly need to know to move forward and perform well?
Okay.
So, for instance,
Yeah,
instead of asking, what's the Wi-Fi password?
right, which can be easily found.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could try asking, what are some common challenges new employees face in this role, and what advice do you have for overcoming them?
Okay, so asking insightful questions.
Yeah.
That show you've put some thought into it.
Yeah. And timing and framing are also crucial.
No.
Observe the dynamics. Figure out who's the best person to approach for certain types of questions. And frame your questions in a way that shows you've done some initial legwork.
Right.
So instead of saying, can you explain this entire project to me?
Mm-hmm.
I reviewed the project brief and I'm trying to understand X aspect. Could you offer some insights?
That makes total sense.
Yep.
Asking smart questions is a skill in itself.
It really is.
And Mark also encourages Sarah to be patient with herself.
Yeah.
Acknowledging that the learning curve is natural.
Absolutely.
He reminds her that everyone was new once,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is such an important point.
It is.
It's easy to get caught up in self-criticism,
Oh, yeah.
but maybe a bit of self-compassion is key, especially early on.
Absolutely giving yourself permission to not have all the answers right away.
Yeah,
New environments often trigger that inner critic.
I feel that.
But research shows that self-compassion can be a powerful buffer against stress and burnout.
Interesting.
It allows us to approach challenges with a growth mindset rather than getting bogged down by self-doubt.
So we're talking about embracing the learning curve,
Uh-huh.
asking strategic questions, and showing ourselves some kindness along the way.
Mm-hmm.
But they also touch on this concept of culture, which feels central to adapting to any new environment.
It's the invisible force that shapes everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
The values, the communication styles, even the unspoken rules.
Right.
And every workplace has its own unique culture.
For sure.
Just look at those tech startups with their, casual vibes
Yeah.
versus a more traditional corporate setting,
Totally different.
worlds apart.
It's true. The same job title in two different companies
Yeah,
could have completely different expectations and ways of operating.
for sure.
So how do we go about deciphering the culture of a new environment? Is it all about observation?
Observation is key, absolutely.
Okay.
Pay attention to how people interact, what's celebrated, what's frowned upon.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the communication styles. Is it all email or is there a more collaborative approach?
Right.
But don't be afraid to ask questions about the culture, too.
Oh.
Something like, what are some things that are really important to the team here?
Interesting. It's like being a cultural anthropologist in a way.
Yeah.
You're trying to decode the unspoken rules and norms.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that applies beyond the workplace too, right?
Just,
Moving to a new city, joining a new club,
yeah.
it's all about understanding the culture.
Totally think about something as simple as joining a book club.
Okay.
You've got the stated purpose to discuss books,
Right.
but then there's the underlying culture. How seriously do they take the discussions?
Oh, yeah.
Are tangents welcome? Do they have a strict schedule or a more relaxed approach?
And figuring that out can make the difference between feeling like an outsider and feeling like you belong.
Exactly.
But what struck me in Sarah and Mark's conversation
Yeah.
is that he really emphasizes the importance of utilizing support systems.
Hmm.
It's not just about figuring everything out on your own. It's about leaning on those around you.
That's such a crucial point, whether it's colleagues, friends, mentors, or even online communities.
Yeah,
Having a support system can make all the difference.
right.
It's a space to ask questions, share frustrations, and celebrate small wins.
Mm-hmm.
It normalizes the challenges and reminds you that you're not alone in the process.
It's almost like having a safety net
Yeah,
as you're navigating that tightrope of a new environment.
I like that.
And I think this brings up an interesting question
Okay.
about the responsibility of the environment itself.
Mm.
Sure, the individual needs to adapt,
Hmm.
but shouldn't the workplace, the community, or the group also play a role in welcoming newcomers?
I'm so glad you brought that up. It's a two-way street. Absolutely.
Right.
Think about those companies that have amazing onboarding programs.
Okay.
They're not just throwing you a stack of paperwork and saying good luck.
Yeah.
They're actively creating a structure to support your transition.
It's like the difference between being handed a map
Yeah.
and being guided through the terrain.
Exactly.
And it goes beyond those formal programs too, doesn't it?
It does. It's about fostering a culture of inclusivity
Mm-hmm.
where people feel comfortable asking questions, sharing ideas, and even just being themselves.
That's not just about being nice.
right.
It's about creating an environment where people can thrive.
Exactly.
I'm curious, what are some concrete ways that workplaces or groups can foster that sense of welcome and belonging?
Well, mentorship programs are fantastic.
Okay.
Pairing a newcomer with a more experienced member can provide guidance, support, and a sense of connection.
Mm-hmm.
Even something as simple as buddy systems can help.
I've seen those work wonders.
Yeah.
It's like having a go-to person for all those little questions you might feel awkward asking in a larger group.
Precisely. And then there are things like informal social gatherings, team building activities, or even just acknowledging and celebrating individual contributions.
It creates a space where people feel seen and valued,
Hmm.
which can be so powerful when you're trying to find your footing in a new environment.
And let's not forget the benefits for the organization or community itself.
Oh, right.
When people feel welcome and supported, they're more likely to be engaged, productive, and contribute their unique talent.
It's a win-win.
Totally.
So we've talked about the individual's journey of adapting
Right.
and the role of the environment in supporting that process.
Mm-hmm.
But what really stuck with me is the emphasis on asking the right questions.
Mm-hmm.
We've touched on it in the context of the workplace,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering how this translates to other new environments.
What a fantastic point.
Yeah.
It's about applying that same curiosity and strategic thinking to any new situation
Right.
moving to a new city.
Yeah.
Don't just rely on Google Maps. Ask locals for their favorite hidden gems.
Oh, I like that.
Joining a new hobby group.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just sit on the sidelines. Ask about the group's history, their traditions, their inside jokes.
It's almost like a key
It is.
that unlocks a deeper level of understanding and connection.
Sure.
Instead of just observing from the outside, you're actively participating in the culture.
Exactly. Shifting from a passive observer to an active participant.
Mm-hmm.
And those questions can lead to unexpected discoveries, new friendships, and a much richer experience overall.
You know, it strikes me that there's almost like a parallel between asking thoughtful questions
Mhm.
and showing self-compassion.
Oh, how so?
Like in both cases, it's about giving ourselves permission to not know everything,
Okay.
to be curious, and to be okay with being a work in progress.
What a brilliant connection. Yeah, it's like those two concepts are intertwined.
Right.
The more self-compassion we have, the
Yeah.
more we're able to embrace the learning process and ask those questions that deepen our understanding.
Right.
And the more we ask,
Mm.
the more we realize that everyone, no matter how experienced, is constantly learning and adapting.
It's almost like reframing the idea of being a newbie
Yeah,
as something positive.
right.
It's not a sign of weakness, but a sign of growth.
Exactly. Instead of fearing that newbie status, we can embrace it as a stage of exploration and discovery.
I love that.
And I think that leads us to a really important question
Okay.
for you to ponder as we wrap up this deep dive.
Okay. Hit us with that final thought-provoking question.
Okay, think about a time when you felt truly welcomed in a new environment.
Hmm.
What specific actions or behaviors made that difference for you?
Wow, that's a powerful question. It's like turning the lens inward and examining our own experiences.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking back to when I first joined my current team,
Okay.
and I remember how my supervisor took the time to introduce me to everyone individually, explaining their roles and how we'd be collaborating.
Awesome.
Instantly made me feel like part of the team.
That's such a great example, and by reflecting on those experiences, we can uncover insights into what creates that sense of belonging. Maybe it was a simple gesture of kindness, a willingness to answer questions, or an effort to include you in conversations.
Right.
And then we can use that knowledge to create more welcoming environments for others.
It's like paying it forward in a way, using our own experiences to shape more positive and inclusive cultures.
Precisely. We all have the power to make a difference in how others experience new environments.
Yeah.
It could be as simple as offering a friendly smile, extending an invitation to lunch, or simply being patient and understanding with someone who's finding their way.
This deep dive has really highlighted that adapting to new environments is a continuous journey,
It is.
and it's something we do collectively.
Yeah.
We all have a role to play in creating spaces where people feel supported, valued, and empowered to grow.
It's been such a pleasure exploring this topic with you. I hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights and actionable strategies for navigating new environments with confidence and grace.
Absolutely. And remember, the key takeaway here is that we're all in this together. Whether you're the seasoned veteran or the wide-eyed newbie, let's approach each other with empathy, curiosity, and a genuine desire to learn and grow.
Beautifully said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into adapting to new environments.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep connecting, and keep embracing the beautiful messiness of learning and growth.